This is Launching Your Daughter podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. Now, here is today's episode. Episode 14. Welcome. Today's guest is Mercedes Sumudio, and she is a licensed clinical social worker who's turned parent coach and is located in Huntington Beach, California. Mercedes' passion to help end parent shame and empowering families comes through clearly. In today's episode, she shares her work with families in discovering their strengths, areas they are needing support, and giving them the tools to help navigate the tween and teen years. We also talk about perfectionism and how that impacts parenting and your teenager. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. Now here it is. Welcome, everybody. My guest today is Mercedes Sumudio, and she's a licensed clinical social worker and a parent coach. And I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with her today because she is doing some incredible work with parents all over the place. So welcome, Mercedes.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
Can you tell our audience just a little bit about who you are and some of the, what you're putting out there for all of our parents out there? I love your concept about ending the shaming for our parents. So could you talk a little more about what you do?
Sure, yeah. So I am a licensed clinical social worker turned parent coach who specifically works with parents to help them discover and unlock their unique parenting powers. And what that means for me is that most of the families that I work with are very savvy, thanks to the internet and the access to parenting materials. Many of my parents really understand and really know some of the tools they need for their parenting. But where I see my parents having challenges and struggles is in taking all that they know and really bridging that gap to implementing it with their family and their family's unique challenges. So what I do is I help families take all that they know, figure out who their family is, what it is that their family truly needs, and then learn how to implement all those tools, the ones that I give them, as well as the ones that they learn on their own, how to implement those in their families so they can create real change in their families.
Oh, and I love it because it sounds like you really customize it for the families. Mm-hmm. So you're taking their strengths that they already have, maybe mm-hmm. giving them some extra tools that they don't know about from mm-hmm. your training, and putting those two things together to really make it a strong family system.
Yes, correct.
Oh, I love that. So can you tell our parents that are out there listening, I know you also work a lot with tweens and teens.
Yes. And
what are some of the, challenges maybe sometimes that the parents face and how you help them with some of that. It's a tough developmental stage, those teens and teen years. And what are some of the skills that you kind of help parents with regarding that?
So one of the things that you mentioned, which is this is a really tough time for kids. And I think that with the kind of the progression of technology, kids are being exposed to things very early in their life where, kids were kind of taking a while to merge into that adolescence, maybe not really getting fully into it until high school. Now I'm seeing kids as young as 8 or 9 really beginning to assert that level of development that they probably weren't going to get until they were 13 because of their access to the internet and other friends and other people. And I see a lot of kids who access things via their gaming system, so they're able to access people all around the world. So one of the things that I teach parents a lot is how to understand that, how to understand this developmental phase and what the kid is supposed to be doing, and kind of normalize some of the behaviors that they're seeing in their kid so they don't feel like their kid or themselves are so dysfunctional. How to help them, feel like, okay, this is what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be testing my limits. They're supposed to be kind of talking back a little bit and asking for more independence. This is where they're supposed to be. And so then I help parents learn what to do that in a healthy way so that way the parents themselves don't get burnt out. So it's one thing to say your kid's supposed to be talking back. It's another thing to be living it. So I help parents, know how to guide their child on asserting themselves more and getting more independent. So that way the kid and the child don't butt heads. The kid and the parent don't butt heads so much on the child's independence or what the parent may be still needing from the child as far as chores and homework. Everyone can get their needs met. And I teach those communication skills so that way the parent gets their needs met, but the child is also able to effectively and healthily develop the way they're supposed to in that time, in that age range.
I love how you tell the parents, so you're trying to normalize
Yeah.
the challenges that they do have with that age group, and that kids are using technology earlier and earlier. And so to be able to educate the parents a little bit about what's normal for development, what is things they need to be a little more aware of, and being able to really empower the parents and, as you said, get that healthier relationship back on track when the kids
Yeah.
are testing the boundaries or kind of acting out or saying, hey, this isn't fair type of thing. It's like, well, part of what we have to do is really monitor that as
Right.
adults because,
Right.
yeah, there's some things out there that it's like kids don't know what they don't know,
They
and
don't.
they're truly curious. And for parents, sometimes I know that technology can feel very overwhelming to them, and so then it can go to that all or nothing of no, they can't be on it at all, or to I'm not going to do anything. And it's like let's
Right.
find that medium in there.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
beautiful. You talked about really helping the parents with the communication skills. And from what I have read in some of our mutual contacts, you have done a lot of work regarding nonviolent communication. So how is that built into how you teach communication?
Yeah, definitely. So I was trained in nonviolent parenting by an amazing woman. You should look her up. Her name is Ruth Beaglehole. She is an
Okay.
amazing advocate for children and for nonviolent communication and nonviolent parenting. But I was trained under her to really look at parenting as this evolution of creating another human. So it's not so much about rules and regulations. It's not so much about making the child perfect, but it's really about you as the parent taking time to communicate in a way that helps your child learn how to communicate, but also building up your child's different levels of development. So their cognitive development, their emotional development, their social development, their relationships development, and how they understand and relate to others in the world. And it's really this idea that parents and kids are both humans trying to navigate this life journey together, and neither of them are more important than the other, and that both the child and the parent deserve to have their voices heard and their needs met, and how to do that in a healthy way. That's kind of the crux of it.
Wow, that is beautiful. 'Cause
Yes.
I teach a lot about or try to tell my clients with both the parents and the girls that it's our foundation is we're all human. And so to keep reminding the parents when they get stuck in something or worried about something that it's, hey, let's go back and educate each other about the humanness of both being a kid and being an adult and trying to make sure that, yeah, one's not better than the other, but it's just we're at different stages and how
Yes.
we all want to be seen and heard and validated.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. That is
Yes.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me kind of taking it a step further,
Mm-hmm.
it's what you just shared and what we just talked about is one of the reasons why I developed this idea of ending parent shaming. Because what I've noticed is that most of my parents actually inherently, when we're working together, they inherently think that they're like, my child is human. I can see them
Yeah.
going through a hard time. I don't always know what to do, but sometimes I try to be there for them. I try to, do this. But what I notice is that parents get so much shame and guilt
Yeah.
for trying to connect to their child in a human way, because people will say, well, you should control them, and kids need to be seen and not heard. And
Yeah.
parents are constantly struggling back and forth between, I know that me and my child both are human and they need help, but I also know that when grandma comes over or auntie comes over, they're going to want to see this kid who listens and behaves. And I don't, I see parents in that limbo so much. So I really kind of want to create this culture where we don't treat parents as if they have to have perfect little children, they have to have
Right.
perfect little households in order to get the stamp of approval for being a good parent, but really helping them learn and helping the whole culture learn that being a parent is part of the full human experience, and so is being a child. And when we can give people space to say, I'm having a hard time, I don't know what to do, or I'm doing really great, we're doing just fine, give us that space to live in that fluidity and
Yeah.
not feeling like everything has to be exactly just so A, B, C, D.
Oh, I love that. That is so empowering. And I love too that when, the other family system pieces of it come in, grandmas or the aunties and all of that, when their mindset or the the ways they were taught growing up. It's like, yeah, a child is to be seen but not heard, and it's trying to undo or unlearn that old belief
Yes.
system, and that,
Yes.
yes, as a human being, we all deserve to be seen and heard, and really help give your parents a solid foundation that they being imperfect is okay. It really, there is no
Yes.
perfection. And
Yes.
I'm trying to teach that with the girls that I work with too, and the parents. It's like,
Right.
to strive for that perfection is an unrealistic goal, and it just sets you up for a lot of stress and
It
anxiety.
does. It does.
So to be able to unlearn that, like what you're talking about, and saying you're doing the best that you can, here's some tools, and it's all about that connecting.
Right.
That really is the foundation. That connection, that amount of love, unconditional love, to go back and forth, builds a very strong family. And
It
then,
does.
our teenagers are our future. And so when we can empower them to be the best person they can possibly be, it shifts everything. And that, I've talked with other clinicians how it's the ripple effect, and it's beautiful to watch how that changes the world within their community and then further reaches out into the world. So that's just beautiful. I love it. Love it, love it. What are some of the biggest, I guess, for the parents that come in and they feel that shame or they feel guilt, like, oh my gosh, I've got to be more, or I'm trying to please everybody, what, which they can't do either. You can't please
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common, I guess, questions that you get regarding how to be either a better parent or a different parent, or what do they have to do differently? What are some of the common, I guess, threads or themes that
Yeah.
you hear?
A lot of them are kind of what we were just talking about, which is this need or this desire to have a kid that listens consistently. And I think it's really frustrating and difficult sometimes, especially when you really need your kid to get dressed or to get ready to go or to sit still, to have them not do that. And what I see across the board is, again, at home, parents are able to kind of navigate it a little bit better because they're in that familiar environment. They can have them go to their room or to their space and kind of, mellow out. But what I see is the embarrassment, the frustration, sometimes even just the desperation to be able to go out to dinner, go to a party, go out and do things and have their child behave and show that their child is a great human. I've had multiple parents say, I just want other people to see the beautiful child that I see and
Yeah.
not this little, defiant, disrespectful kid that everyone else seems to see. And I think that that's something that I see across the board.
Yeah. And that goes into like the next part of it too. We were talking about what are some of the benefits for the parents, but it's really also for the teens and the tweens, right? That it's,
Yeah.
wow, when mom and dad are connecting to me, I have a place to air my frustrations or
Right.
air my concerns. And it's okay that it doesn't make me a bad kid, or it doesn't make me unlovable. It's, yeah, we all have frustrations. We can
Right.
all have moments where, like, I'm tired, I'm grumpy, just leave me alone kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah. And
I
really,
agree.
yeah. And then also, I think more than anything, it's really giving the parents a true empowering foundation of saying, hey, you are doing it. And sometimes we have to go against our culture's belief of
Yeah.
what it's supposed to look like. And that can
Yeah.
be tough when
It
you're
can.
already feeling doubt and concern, like, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? So,
Right.
yeah.
And that's why I've kind of coined this term of shame proofing your parenting, because I think, in this world, and we've talked about it a little bit in this talk, but this idea that everyone is striving for perfection, this idea that our society thrives off showing us and advertising to us about how to have the perfect this or the perfect that, that I think when parents talk to me, they're like, well, we should do this or we should look like this. And I have to kind of say, let me help you learn how to shame-proof your parenting so you're not telling yourself or your family that you should look a certain way, but you're saying, this is us. This is who we are, flaws and all, strengths and all, imperfections and all. This is who we are. And there's nothing dysfunctional or broken or bad about us.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really like to help empower my parents to feel, because I think, again, go back to technology, kids are influenced by it, but so are we as adults. We look at Facebook, we look at Twitter, we see all these other parents having kids that are taking great pictures at Disneyland and having fun at the
Right.
beach. And you're like, why can't my kids just do that? Not
Yeah,
realizing that you didn't see the tantrum that happened right before that picture, or you didn't see the meltdown that happened on the car ride to Disneyland. Like you didn't see all
right.
that. You just saw the beautiful picture in front of Mickey Mouse. And so helping parents to realize that this fantasy of having the perfect parent, the perfect parenting or the perfect family is really just that. It's a fantasy. No human on earth is perfect. And that includes you and your children.
Yes, I love that too because those snapshots on Facebook and Pinterest and everything, they're nothing more than snapshots. And there's a
Right.
lot of prettiness, I will call it, for lack of a better word, I guess, that
Right.
goes out there. But it's like behind the scenes, you don't see all the ups and downs.
No.
And I love how the education piece that you're doing with the parents really helps them understand. It's like, yeah, we have moments in time and the uniqueness is each family. That when we
Yes.
do that comparison game, oh my goodness, it just brings up so much more doubt. And as you're saying, shame. And it's like, it's stopping that comparison game and allowing your family to be the best family that they are.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
love that. I love
Yes.
it.
There's a quote that I shared in my Smart and Empowered Parents community, which is, and I'm going to misquote it, but it's this idea that we have so many insecurities in our lives because we are comparing everyone's highlight reel to our, back
Yeah.
behind the scenes. And I think that that's something that happens so much for everybody. I don't think it
Yeah.
just happens in parenting. I think it happens when you look at other marriages or when you look at other, people in other careers. You feel like,
Mhm.
oh, they're doing so great. You look at the Tony Robbins and those people. You think, oh, they're doing so great, but you don't know that behind the scenes piece of what it took to get to where they're at. And I feel the same way about parents, where you may go to a party and see everybody's kids sitting down and eating cake and playing nice, but you don't know the struggles or the barriers that family may have had just to get their kid there that day. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really,
absolutely.
yeah,
And I love again going back to when you're empowering the parents of this, they are then role modeling, especially to the teen girls that I work with. It is such a I think a struggle for them with the technology these days and how they're
mm,
bombarded with so much about the being perfect or overachieving. And so when parents are really solid, one within themselves individually, and
yeah,
then within that relationship, they are helping set their daughters up to succeed in life regarding they're not looking outside themselves for that validation.
right,
They know they have that within inside themselves. And yeah, it's not the compare shame game that continues to
right,
go on.
right, right.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. So I'm curious, do you have any books that you sometimes recommend or pieces of advice that you give parents either in between the sessions with you or, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
just in general, things that you may recommend to them?
Yeah. So one thing that I actually highly, talk about is this idea of actually putting the parenting books down. There are a few that I
Ah,
recommend, so I'll share those in a minute. But I really challenge parents, especially when we first start working together,
yeah.
to put the parenting book down. Close the laptop and stop looking at all the blogs and just look at your kid and see what actually is sitting in front of you. Who is that? And I've had some really great transformational moments when my parents just look at who they have, negative and positive, good and bad, strengths and weaknesses. And we began to look at how to develop your parenting so that way it actually accommodates the family you have, not the family in the parenting book or not the examples in the blogs. Because while those are great foundations and they provide a great skeleton for what you should be looking for or what things, can cause red flags, the real true book, if you will, the real true knowledge comes from interacting with the people who are actually physically in the home with you, your partner, your children. These things are going to be way more important than the book.
Oh, I love that, Mercedes. Oh my gosh, that is just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So, on the other hand, though, there are a few books that I think are amazing, and I think that they are great complements to that work that you'll be doing when you're just kind of focusing on your child. And one author that I love, his name is Dan Siegel. Pretty
Hmm.
much anything that he puts out, I'm very impressed with and I love because he doesn't tell you how to parent, but he gives you a wonderful framework for how to take the theories and the research that he's done and to look at your family and apply it in a way that's really unique. So one that I start off with is The Whole Brain Child. It's him and Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson. I love that book. I think it's a great start if you're
Yes.
looking to be more connected to your child, if you're looking to learn more about your child's brain development and social development and who they really are. And he also talks a lot about in that book this idea of emotional intelligence and how to bring that to the forefront of your relationship with your child. So that's one of my number one books that I recommend.
Yeah, I have quite a few folks that I've talked with that, Dan Siegel's work is just amazing. And I
Yeah.
agree with you that it's not about these specific skills, but it's the understanding of, yes, the framework or that brain development and what's normal, what's not, and what
Right.
as adults we're trying to feed regarding the kids too.
Right.
And that really goes back to as well, I think in his Inside Out book, talk something like what you were just saying about finding those strengths and weaknesses within your child and then being able to kind of guide that, but you understand it better as a parent. So I love it.
Yeah. And I think overall, one of the things that I really do share with parents is that being human is hard. And nobody, no matter how much you punish, no matter how much you yell, no matter how much you try to guide, they're still going to have flaws.
Right.
And I think that that's the hardest thing about being a parent is that you are going to work really hard to make sure that when your child leaves to go to college or to start their life, that they have the best set of tools that they have. But I always tell parents this, your kid is human and they're going to have flaws. They're going to have imperfections. They're going to make, decisions that aren't so great. And to really understand that and build that into your parenting, to even let them know, hey, I'm telling you these things, I'm giving you these tools, but hey, if you fall, if you make a mistake, you can always come back home and we can refreshen some of the tools you may need, or we can talk about how to get past it together. And so I teach parents how to build that into their parenting, not just the values and the rules, the limits, but to also build in the when you fail and when you make a bad decision and when you don't do so great. Both of those encompass who I am to you as a parent, and I'm here to guide you in both areas.
Yes, that's lovely because that's that resiliency and that's the self-compassion, both as the adult parent itself and then trying to teach that to your kiddo too. So yes, lovely, lovely. How can they find you? What is a way that they can locate you and get more information about you?
Great. So I am pretty much all on the internet all the time. So I love being able to interact with people in that way. As much as I talk about it, I love it. So you can go to my website, theparentingskill.com. And on that site, I have blogs, I have video blogs. I have a 3-part video series about helping parents feel more confident and connected with their children, which is a free series they can download. And I also have all of my social media links on there. So I'm on Facebook, I am on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm pretty much everywhere. And pretty much what I do everywhere is just share lots of content to help you feel really empowered, to help you feel really confident and connected.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mercedes. I absolutely love your passion and the support and guidance that you're giving our parents out there and how you really are there to help them succeed, gain a better understanding of themselves, and truly empower them. And as you say, end the shaming game that happens all the time. So thank you so much for being a guest today. And I'll have all that information on the show notes where you can find out about how to connect with Mercedes. And yes, thank you so much. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I also want to invite you to join my new Facebook group called Launching Your Daughter. Here you will not only find the weekly updates, but I share articles and blogs to help encourage and inform. Thank you for listening to Launching Your Daughter with Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist. For more information or to stay up to date, go to launchingyourdaughter.com. You can sign up for my email list or join my Facebook group. Thank you.